Here's a powerful speech inspired by the style of Dr. Maya Angelou rich in poetic rhythm, wisdom, and resilience. It speaks to faith, endurance, and the unshakable spirit of Christians beyond March 17, 2025. What will happen to Christians after March 17, 2025? Speech. My beloved brothers and sisters, the dawn has never failed to break, and the sun has never refused to rise. The winds may howl, the storm may rage, but still we stand. They ask, what will happen? I tell you, we will happen. Our faith will rise as it has always risen. Like the morning mist kissing the mountaintops, our prayers will float beyond the stars, whispering in the ears of angels, and our love will pour into the streets, into the fields, into the darkest corners of a trembling world. Oh, they may question us, they may doubt us, they may push us into the shadows, but don't they know? Haven't they heard? The light within us was never built by human hands, and no human hands can snuff it out. After March 17, 2025, our songs will not be silenced. Our hands will still reach for the broken. Our feet will still march toward justice. Our hearts will still burn with a holy fire. Do you hear me? We are the descendants of those who walked through the valleys of death but feared no evil. We are the children of those who knelt in chains and still found the strength to pray. We are more than a moment in time. We are the echoes of eternity. So I say, do not tremble, do not worry. Do not let fear whisper lies into your soul. Stand, child of God. Stand, mighty soldier. Stand, bearer of love. And when the world asks, what will happen to Christians after March 17, 2025? Tell them, we will shine. Faith is the quiet whisper in the darkest night, the steady drumbeat in a world that shakes, the unseen force that carries a soul from despair to deliverance. It is neither born of convenience nor shaped by circumstance. It is eternal, stretching beyond the borders of time, beyond the limits of human understanding, beyond the limits of human understanding, beyond the rise and fall of empires. It is the first breath of a newborn and the last sigh of the weary traveler. It is the unwavering bridge between what is seen and what is promised, between trials and triumphs, between suffering and salvation. Faith is not an ornament to be displayed when the sun is shining, but a fire to be carried through the storm. It does not waver when the road is uncertain, nor does it falter when shadows lengthen. It stands clothed in courage, clothed in conviction, clothed in the knowledge that no weapon formed against it shall prosper. When the world cries out for proof, faith responds with presence. When the doubters demand explanations, faith answers with endurance. It does not need validation from the shifting sands of society. It does not shrink to fit within the smallness of human logic. It is eternal because it is rooted in the divine, and what is of God cannot be undone. They have tried to bury faith. Oh, they have tried. They have mocked it in the streets and silenced it in the halls of power. They have passed laws against it, written books to refute it, and declared time and time again that it is nothing more than a relic of the past. But faith is not a stone to be crushed beneath the weight of disbelief. It is not a flower that withers in the absence of sunlight. It is the seed buried deep in the soil of the soul, sprouting even in the harshest drought. They said it would fade, yet it rises. They said it would die, yet it lives. Faith is eternal because it is written into the very fabric of existence. It is the pulse that keeps hope alive, the rhythm that guides the weary home. It has traveled through generations, whispered from mother to child, father to son, elder to youth. It has walked through war and famine, through oppression and exile, through the scorching heat of injustice and the cold winds of betrayal. It has been carried by the hands of those who refused to surrender, even when the world called them fools. It has been sung in chains, preached in caves, held close in the secret places where light was forbidden to shine. Faith does not beg for permission to exist. It does not bow to the whims of kings or crumble beneath the weight of persecution. It stands not because it is easy, not because it is convenient, but because it is true. It is the language of the soul that speaks even when words fail. It is the certainty in the heart of the blind man that there is still beauty to behold. It is the strength in the bones of the broken that tells them to rise again. To the one who wonders if faith can endure, look to the pages of history, written with the blood, sweat, and prayers of those who came before. They walked through fire, but they were not consumed. They were cast into the den of lions, yet they stood unshaken. They were imprisoned, beaten, ridiculed, yet they did not bend. And if faith has carried them, it will carry you. If faith has survived through the ages, it will survive through tomorrow. Faith does not fear the future. It does not tremble at the sound of change. It does not retreat in the face of adversity. It looks beyond what the eyes can see, beyond what the mind can comprehend, beyond what the heart can explain. It does not seek comfort, it seeks truth. And truth, no matter how the world twists and turns, will always stand. So when they ask if faith will last, let the answer be known. Faith was here before the mountains were carved and the rivers were traced across the land. Faith was here before kingdoms were built and long after they crumbled into dust. Faith was here before fear learned how to whisper and will remain long after fear has lost its voice. Faith is not bound by years, nor is it bound by men. It does not end, it does not fade, it does not die. It is and it always will be. Light is not bound by walls, nor is it contained by the will of men. It does not ask for permission to shine. It does not beg to exist. It is born in the breath of creation, in the voice that spoke the world into being, in the first flicker of dawn that pierced through the formless void. Light is relentless. It travels where darkness thought it reigned, moving past barriers, slipping through cracks, flooding even the deepest abyss with the brilliance of its truth. There are those who have tried to snuff it out. They have covered it with the weight of oppression, tried to silence it with laws, threatened it with punishment. They have declared that it is no longer welcome, no longer needed, no longer relevant in a world that claims to have outgrown it. But light is not subject to human authority. It does not obey the shifting tides of culture. It does not bend beneath the heavy hands of those who fear its power. Light is, and because it is, darkness has already lost. Throughout history, there have been attempts to bury the light, but every time it was pushed down, it found a way to rise. It burned in the hearts of those who refused to surrender. It shone through the bars of prison cells where the faithful knelt in chains. It whispered in the voices of those who stood unshaken before the might of empires. The world has tried to drown it in laws, in ridicule, in mockery, but the light of truth does not fear persecution. It grows in the fire. It is refined, strengthened, purified, and made more radiant than before. There is a mystery about light that the world has never understood. It does not need an invitation to appear. It does not seek approval to exist. Even when it is pushed to the edges, forced into corners, hidden away from sight, it finds a way to shine. A single flame is enough to disrupt the night. A single spark is enough to ignite a movement. It only takes one voice speaking truth, one act of courage, one moment of defiance against the forces of darkness to set the world ablaze. They may call it foolishness. They may scoff and say that darkness is too deep, that the world has changed too much, that the light is no longer needed. But light has never been afraid of the dark. It has never recoiled in fear. It has never trembled at the presence of shadows. It moves forward, undeterred, unwavering, unconquered. The darker the night, the brighter it shines. They will say that the light is fading. They will point to the chaos of the world and claim that darkness is winning. But they forget that light is not dependent on circumstances. It is not diminished by opposition. It does not shrink when challenged. It is not made weak by resistance. In the moments when it seems to flicker, when the world believes it has finally been dimmed, that is when it burns the fiercest. There will always be those who try to extinguish it. They will pass decrees, declare new truths, rewrite history, and reshape laws in an effort to erase what they cannot control. They will turn their backs on it, cover their eyes, and pretend it is no longer there. But even if they refuse to see it, the light remains. Even if they deny its existence, it still shines. Even if they try to put it out, it will rise again. Light is carried in the hearts of those who refuse to be silenced. It is carried in the prayers of the faithful, in the love of the selfless, in the unshaken hope of those who believe. It is not fragile. It is not fleeting. It is not temporary. It cannot be bribed, bought, or broken. It cannot be conquered by fear or crushed by force. The world may rage against it, but it will not bow. It will not break. It will not burn out. It has been here from the beginning, and it will be here until the end. The light cannot be extinguished. Fear is loud, but it is not lasting. It rises like a storm, roaring with threats and trembling the ground beneath our feet. It speaks in whispers of doubt, in shadows of uncertainty, in the chill of the unknown. It tells us that the road ahead is too dangerous, that the burden is too heavy, that the mountain is too steep to climb. But fear forgets one thing. Faith does not listen to its voice. Faith does not bow to its demands. Faith does not cower in the face of its threats. Faith stands when fear tells it to fall. Faith walks when fear commands it to freeze. Faith looks into the darkness and declares that there is light ahead, even when the eye cannot yet see it. Fear is the weapon of those who do not know where they stand. It grips the hearts of those who have built their foundation on things that shift, things that crumble, things that fade. But faith is rooted in something deeper, something stronger, something eternal, and because of that, fear has no power over it. Fear comes in many forms. It disguises itself in worry and hesitation, in the feeling that maybe, just maybe, we are not enough. It clutches at the soul, whispering of failure, of loss, of suffering yet to come. It tells us that the battle is too great, that the enemy is too strong, that the cost of standing firm is too high. But faith has heard these words before, and faith is not moved. It has stood in the fire and come out unburned. It has walked through the valley of the shadow of death and feared no evil. It has faced giants, crossed seas, and stood before kings without trembling. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It feeds on what is unknown, what is unseen, what is unpredictable. It tries to fill the empty spaces where trust should reside. But faith knows that the unknown is not to be feared, it is to be faced. The unseen is not a reason to tremble, it is a reason to trust. The unpredictable is not a threat, it is an opportunity for faith to rise. When fear says, "What if?" faith responds, "Even if." Even if the road is difficult, even if the path is unclear, even if the storms come and the waves rise, faith remains. Fear has always tried to rule the hearts of men. It tried to keep Moses from standing before Pharaoh. It tried to keep David from stepping onto the battlefield. It tried to keep Peter from stepping out of the boat. But in every moment where fear tried to take control, faith was stronger. It silenced the doubts, defied the odds, and moved forward when the world said it was impossible. Fear does not write history, faith does. Fear does not change the world, faith does. Fear does not lead to victory, faith does. Fear is temporary. It shouts for a moment, then fades into silence. It threatens, then retreats. It rises, then falls, but faith is constant. It does not shake. It does not waver, it does not run. It holds firm in the storm, walks forward in the fire, and stands tall in the face of the impossible. The world will always have reasons to fear. There will always be uncertainty, always be struggles, always be voices calling for retreat, but faith does not answer to the world. It does not bow to its fear. It does not surrender to its threats. Faith knows who holds tomorrow. Faith knows who walks beside it. Faith knows that no matter what comes, no matter what is taken, no matter what is lost, fear has no power here. Fear can scream, but faith will not listen. Fear can try to shake the ground, but faith stands on a foundation that cannot be moved. Fear can try to stop the journey, but faith will keep walking. And so, fear may come, but it will not stay. It may rise, but it will not rule. It may threaten, but it will not win, because faith does not answer to fear. Faith does not tremble before it. Faith is stronger, faith is greater, and fear has no power here.